Well, happy snow day, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your polar vortex here in Jenison, Michigan. We're at the Early Childhood Center, and today we're going to read a great book. It's called A Fine, Fine School, which we all know Jenison Public Schools is full of fine, fine schools. Boys and girls, are you ready?
Yeah.
It's a snow day, but we're here at school, warm and cozy, having a great day. So here we go. I'll try to do my best. If you can't see, you might want to move down here. But thanks for hanging out with me. A fine, fine school. And you need to be down just a little bit because Chelsea is height challenged today. Here's our fine, fine school. It looks just like Kids First. Mr. Keene was a principal who loved his school. Every morning he strolled down the hallway and saw children in their classes. He saw them learning shapes and colors. He saw them reading and writing and drawing and painting. He saw them making dinosaurs and forts and pyramids. Oh, he would say, aren't these fine children? Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school? Can you guys say fine, fine school?
Fine, fine school.
Oh, I love that. Near Mr. Keene's school, Tilly lived with her parents and her brother and her dog. The dog's name was Beans, in a small house next to a big tree. On Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. So Monday through Friday, they went to school, just like you guys. At school, Tilly learned her shapes and colors and numbers and letters. Sometimes she saw Mr. Keene standing in the hallway, and he waved. Aren't these fine, fine children? He said to himself. Aren't these fine, fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school? Can you say fine, fine school again?
Fine, fine school. We have to say this over and over and over.
Maybe. On weekends, Saturday and Sunday, Tilly climbed her favorite tree. It said right there, help, I get stuck. She took Beans on walks, that's her dog, and threw him sticks. And she pushed her brother on a swing and tried to teach him how to skip. But on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. Beans and her brothers did not like to see her go. Hurry, hurry home, her brother called. So she's got a little brother and a dog at home that wait for her to come home after school. One day, Mr. Keene called the students and teachers together and said, this is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. Oh, this sounds just like me. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Saturdays too. The teachers and students did not want to go to school on Saturdays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and teachers and all the learning they were doing every day. And so Saturday, Tilly set off to school. But it's Saturday. What about the swings, her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene announced, this is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have even more school. From now on, let's have school on Sundays too. That wouldn't go over in Jenison. The teachers and students did not want to go to school on Sundays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and teachers and all the learning they were doing. So he's suggesting going to school every day of the week. And on Sunday, Tilly set off for school. But it's Sunday, what about learning how to skip, her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene called everyone together and said, this is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on holidays, on Easter and Ramadan and Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah, on all the holidays of the calendar. And the teachers did not want to go to school on holidays, but nobody knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of his children and teachers and all the learning they were doing. Every day.
Every day of the year.
And so on Christmas, Tilly set off for school. But it's Christmas. What about Christmas? Her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene called everyone together and he said, this is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have even more school. Let's have school in the summer. All summer long,
every single day.
Every month.
Can you believe it? It's so cool.
Every day, every year.
How much we will learn. We can learn everything. We will learn about all the numbers, letters, colors, and shapes. The Romans and the Egyptians and the Greeks. We will learn about dinosaurs and castles and everything. We will learn everything. The teachers and students did not want to go to school on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays and all summer long and every single day, but nobody knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and all the learning they were doing every single day. And so on. The first day of summer, Tilly set out for school. But it's summer. What about summer? Her brother called. And that day, Tilly went to see Mr. Keene. She stood in his office in front of the desk. What a fine, fine school this is, Mr. Keene said. What an amazing things everyone is learning. Yes, Tilly said, we certainly are learning some amazing things. A fine, fine school, said Mr. Keene. But Tilly said, not everything is learning. This is where the story gets a little different and interesting. What? Mr. Keene said, looking very worried. Who? Who isn't learning? Tell me and I will see that they will learn. My dog, Beans, he hasn't learned how to sit, Tilly said, and he hasn't learned how to jump over the creek. Oh, Mr. Keene said. And my little brother hasn't learned how to swing or skip. Oh, Mr. Keene said. And I, she said, but you go to school, said Mr. Keene, to our fine, fine school. True, Tilly said, but I haven't learned how to climb a very high tree and haven't learned how to sit in my tree for a whole hour. Oh, said Mr. Keene. That day, Mr. Keene walked up and down the halls, looking at the children and teachers. Up and down he walked, up and down, up and down. It is a fine, fine school. The next morning, Mr. Keene called everyone together. The children and the teachers were very worried. Mr. Keene said, this is a fine, fine school with fine, fine children and fine, fine teachers. But not everything is learning. The children and the teachers were very worried. Mr. Keene said, there are dogs who need to learn how to sit and jump creeks. What did he mean? Was he going to make their dogs come to school too? There are little brothers and sisters who need to know how to swing and how to skip. What did he mean? Was he going to make the youngest brothers and sisters come to school too? The children and the teachers were very, very worried. And you, all of you, children and teachers, you need to learn how to climb a tree and sit there for a whole hour. The children and the teachers were very worried. And from now on, we will not have school on Saturdays or Sundays and holidays in the summer. A huge, enormous, roaring cheer soared up from the ceiling and floated out the window so that everyone in the town heard this. Fine, fine children with the fine, fine teachers shout, fine, fine, fine. You guys try it.
Fine, fine, fine!
Very good. And then the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers lifted Mr. Keene up, and they carried him down the hallway and out the doors and through the town, up and down, in and out. And everywhere they went, people said, what a fine, fine school with such fine, fine teachers and fine, fine students. Boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed your polar vortex vacation that we're having, and that I hope you know that we care deeply about you. Stay warm and stay safe. Have a great break. Bye.